Hello again, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It's 9:49 a.m. and I'm on my third video of the day. I'm on a roll, and today, right now, I'm going to talk about porn addiction. It's a heavy topic. It's a topic that no doubt comes up every now and then, especially in religious circles, especially in just LGBT community circles or uh, non-LGBT in terms of like sexuality circles. Um, Yeah, I'm just going to dive right into it and say that my personal views are that it is harmful and it is not good for you, especially if you're a guy. And I'll start by saying that I have an accountability partner during this COVID pandemic. Both of us are Christians. Both of us believe that porn is very, very deleterious and harmful for your health, your mental health, your well-being, your overall approach to life. And so, I think I'm helping him more than he's helping me. Um, he's a little strict about it. He's like, "Oh, you shouldn't lust because this and that." Um, I think it's a little radical, the approach that he's taking, but I don't judge. And so I think uh, this individual might have more of a problem with it than I do. I don't think I have an issue with pornography in general, but I do find that it is very, very, very just negative for the soul and for the bodily what are they called, the needs, the appetite, sexual appetite. It just completely morphs. Just what am I trying to say here? It just completely shifts your sexual appetite out of gear, and it causes you to rely on cyber sexuality instead of real sexuality. And I don't think it's very helpful in the short or long term. But anyway, I have an accountability partner. We talk to each other on the daily, and we just tell each other like, "Hey, have you heard about this Bible verse? Did you hear what Jesus said about this? Did you hear that? Did you hear this?" And then we're just like, "Oh, okay. Have you looked at porn?" And then both of us are just like, "Nope, nope, 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 nope." We could be lying through our teeth, and you wouldn't tell. You wouldn't be able to tell. But um, like I said, I think he's got a handle on it, and I think I'm pretty much prepared to go like the rest of my life without it. But we'll see. Um, yeah, porn addiction is a problem in my opinion. You can look online, and that would be. I mean, I'm trying to look for books. I'm trying to talk to as many people as possible. I rely more on first person. No, what is it called? On first, just talking with people. Uh, first, is it called first source or first person? First person sources. I rely more on word of mouth than on like internet stuff. I don't think the internet is too reliable. It's very biased and it has its own truth. But it's very interesting that there's pros and cons on the internet about porn addiction, whether it's good, whether it's bad. But I mean, generally, you'll find most of the people that have access to the internet looking at porn, and so that kind of tells me like maybe there's a normalization of pornography in general. Maybe there's a normalization on the internet that you can, it's at the reach of your fingertips and it's easier to get than probably anything else. I mean, there's countless ways one can download and whatever, but thankfully I've kept clear of it for a couple weeks now. I whenever I do fall from grace and whenever I do just rely on like one video or two videos or whatever, I feel very guilty about it. Not like Catholic guilt, where I have to like flagellate myself, but in the sense that I've let myself down. I've given into an industry that exploits men as well as women, as well as gay people, as well as straight people, and so I don't like I don't like giving money. I don't like uh, any type of promotion when it comes to pornography. I think it should be up to the individual to decide whether they should have it or not, but it should be known that it is very dangerous. It is a very, I mean, I'm not speaking from experience, but it, I'm speaking from what I've heard. So it is a very deep hole one can, one can fall into. And so, uh, I'll just go ahead and say that the church that I go to, I am a Christian. The church that I go to is not affirming, not LGBT affirming, but it does have elders that ask you whether you have, I mean, in order to receive healing, because there's this whole like bond or like covenant that you have with between you and God, and I could go into more details if you all are interested in another video. And there's just promise that you have to with God and with God's people that if you violate any type of like sinful action, that if you commit any sinful action, you just won't receive healing. And it sounds like a little bit unjust, but it's the way things are, especially on Earth. You know, people are what make up everything, and the church that I go to had elder individuals, the elders of the church, who told me that I needed to stop watching pornography in order to get healed. And so I was just like in denial. I was like, I don't have an addiction. I don't have whatever. This was a couple months or like a year ago or something. I wanted to get healed spiritually and physically and mentally and emotionally and every type of way. And so I thought to myself, like, what if they're right? What if in order to, and then I met them, I saw them in church a couple weeks after they did their healing process, their healing prayers, and they saw me differently. They saw me as like someone lesser than. And granted, I know that if you're going to a church and they treat you that way, you kind of like, okay, I'm gonna step back a little bit. This isn't a church that I personally go to for the people themselves, but because the pastor has a very, very good word, and he preaches very well. And I think that the healing that goes on in any church in general is very powerful. But anyway, other churches that are open and affirming might not have the same idea because they are essentially more open about it. They think that pornography is something positive, as something pleasurable, something, I mean, think or do, what's the term, what's the phrase? Do with that information what you will, you know. But I come from a background of strict fundamentalist Christianity. I'm not a literalist anymore, but I do believe that whatever you put out into the world, you will get back. And if you, this is kind of complicated to talk about. It's kind of complicated to express in words, but basically, if you, I mean, this kind of segues, this kind of just morphs into the NoFap movement. I don't trust NoFap with scientific, on a scientific basis, but If any of you have heard of NoFap, it's this movement that a lot of men, supposedly according to Wikipedia, that are very misogynistic, and they want to reap all the benefits that you can without masturbating at all. And so there's fapstronauts and these individuals that are called fapstronauts that go like 300 days or 3 years or whatever without masturbating. And I mean, y'all can try that out, but you need to have some sort of like word of mouth or some sort of evidence that backs up all this all these types of assertions and all these proposals. So NoFap is different from NoFap is the secular version of not masturbating to porn, but the version that I fall under is religious. And so I mean, it's a touchy subject, and it's a difficult subject to like get your mind um, to understand. But regarding NoFap and the Christian NoFap, but regardless, I think it's especially in societies that have access to internet, which I've mentioned before. I think it's becoming more normalized, and I think the more it becomes normalized, the more we. I mean, have you? I mean, if you go on any of those pages, Pornhub or like XTube or like um, I don't recall the other ones, but like X Hamster or something. You go on there and you see like all these different standards, bodily standards that are just ridiculously out of proportion, and they're not good for like the eye. They're not good for your eyes, and in terms of like the information that your brain processes, and it's not good for dopamine receptors because you get like an influx, you get a huge surplus of dopamine, and it's just not good. I will when as soon as COVID is open and the library is open again, and I'm able to get books on all of this, I will get books on porn addiction. I will read them and I will review them and recommend some of them if they're good. And so I will get some evidence and at least some half truths based on books. So in case you guys are interested in that, be I will be doing that pretty soon. But as far as I know, I mean, as far as just addiction in general goes, um, it's possible to overcome. I don't want to sound. I mean, if you are an addict, I mean, you probably know that you are one, and you probably know some resources to look for or search for or seek out in order to better your life and jump out of that hole, you know. And if you think that porn is positive, please leave a comment as to why that is. I definitely appreciate your opinion and voice, but I'd like to hear from other people's perspectives and experiences and opinions, because this is a very hot button issue, a very hotly debated issue as to whether this is actually good for you, whether this is actually, I mean, everything in moderation, right? Everything in moderation. If you're an extremist like me, you don't want anything to do with a corporation or a conglomerate that is just so grody and all these negative terms in general. And so that's my little spiel, 15-minute spiel on pornography and porn addiction and ways that you can just overcome addiction. I didn't really touch on that, but just a lot of different pointers on what to do if you feel like you don't know whether, to believe one side of humanity or another side of humanity that is arguing for or against the normalization of something that's probably as old as time, but that, you know, still shouldn't, still shouldn't, in my opinion, be considered completely 100% human. I mean, there are actors. I mean, it's essentially just Hollywood, rated X, Hollywood rated X. And what do we think about Hollywood? It's just a lot of fiction. So um, I think it should be viewed as fiction. I think it should be highlighted as fiction, and it should be treated as such. I don't watch movies anymore. Hollywood. I mean, on the topic of Hollywood, I don't watch movies anymore unless they're documentaries. And I don't read books that are fiction unless they're nonfiction. I mean, I don't read fiction books, but in general, what I'm trying to say is that the whole fiction like aspect of humanity is not something that jives with me. So that's my personal opinion. Thank you all for watching. If you guys are interested in more information, whether it be what church I go to, whether it be um, just anything that I mentioned, feel free to comment and feel free to message and feel free to give your opinion, and I will try to answer back. Thank you for your undivided attention. Peace.